The views and opinions expressed on Around the Town are entirely those of the host, guest, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the faculty, staff, and students at Elizabeth City State University or ECSU Radio and Television Services.
Welcome to another edition of Around the Town with Hez Brown. And now your host, Hezekiah Brown.
Good evening. This is Around Town with Hez Brown. We are so happy that you tuned into 89.9 WRVS, the place where you get news that you can't get anyplace else. But you know, before we start our program, we have a special guest today. I mean, really, really special. And we are so honored to have this guest today, but I have to do what I normally do. You know, the world is just so full of conflict. It is so many things happening, not only in the United States, but across the world today. And there's little emphasis put on resolving conflict. Most of it is put on being involved in conflict. But I'm going to give you these 6 nuggets that you get all the time. And I'm going to give them to you again today because I want everyone to start to think about how to resolve conflict, how to be part of the conflict resolution system. So the first thing you have to do yourself is learn a few things. So today I'm going to give you 6 nuggets that you must, if you're going to be a conflict resolver, that you must do. And of course, you know it. I'm going to say it again. The first thing, one, is you have to know yourself. You have to know who you are. You have to know what really tick you off, and then learn how to deal with it. The second thing you must learn to live with, you must learn to live with others. You can't just live in a world alone. You can't live on an island alone. You have to learn to live with others. The third thing that you must learn to live with, you must learn to live with challenges. There's not a single day go by that you're not going to have a challenge, maybe that you did not have before. So you have to learn to deal with challenges on a daily basis. Number 4 is the one that's most difficult. We must learn to live with change. You know, no matter what happened, the world is changing so fast now that when you go to bed at night, you never know what's going to happen when you wake up in the morning. So we know that change is coming, and sometimes we don't know how to prepare for it. But I can guarantee you one thing, change is coming, and we must learn to live with it. Number 5 is choice. There are many times we make choices as young people, and we don't understand the impact that the choice is going to be on us as we get older. So we must learn to live with choices, and things that we do, we pay for them someplace. So you have to start to make good choices early in life. And certainly the last one is the one that I'm most familiar with. We must learn to live with conflict. No matter where you go in life, no matter whether you're in church, no matter whether you're in school, no matter whether you're on vacation, no matter where you are, there's going to be conflict. There's potential for conflict every single place you travel in life. And we must learn to live with conflict because it's there. And we must learn to look at how to solve a problem, not how to become part of the problem. So now, let's go to what we came here for today. We're so honored to have with us, and I don't know how to say this, but our new superintendent. That didn't even sound good, but it doesn't sound right to me. New superintendent. She's not new. She's done this before. So I'd like to introduce our community for a conversation with Dr. Edmonds, the superintendent of schools for the Elizabeth City Pasquotank School District. Welcome, Dr. Edmonds. How are you?
Thank you, Dr. Brown. I'm awesome. I'm excited to be in Elizabeth City Pasquotank Public Schools on day 2, and I am honored to be a part of your show today and to be able to share kind of where we're going in the school district.
That is so wonderful because, as I said again, education is the panacea for everything that happened to you in life. And so we have to pay real attention to that. So what we're going to do is have this conversation. I want the community just to know a little bit about you. I want them to know who you are. Maybe right now you don't have all the plans in place, whatever, but we just wanted to try to go along. And I'm going to start off by saying, it doesn't matter, but are you married? Do you have children? Or whatever, who are you?
Okay, so I'm Dr. Catherine Edmonds, and I grew up in a small town, Oxford, North Carolina. And my mom, dad, and my family, my sisters are still there. I have one son. His name is Thomas, and he's in the Coast Guard, and he lives in Marquette, Michigan, with his wife, Claudia.
Well, see, so that means that there's a connection that we have with you, even to the Coast Guard.
Absolutely.
Because we have a great Coast Guard station here. So
Yes.
I'm just saying, all those connections, because, life to me is about relationships.
Absolutely.
So we're glad you connected to the Coast Guard. You maybe could connect some more to the school district.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to the partnership.
And one of the things that happened too is that I've been doing this program almost 2 years now, and everybody wants to know whether or not you was born and raised in North Carolina. I don't know if that means it make you a better person, what it make you, but were you born and raised in North Carolina?
I was born and raised in North Carolina, and folks in my hometown in Granville County will ask the same question of the superintendent that we have there. And the superintendent in Granville County is actually a native of Elizabeth City, Pasquotank.
No, it is.
Yes, so our superintendent in my hometown is from Elizabeth City.
Wow, so that means switching. Well, we're in good shape now. There's going to be some strong competition, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, let me just move to this, I've been, in preparing for this interview, I've been kind of doing a little research on you to try to find out who you are, and so I can have some questions for you, But I think that we should start off on a good note, And I believe that congratulations are in order on your recent appointment it has been reported that Governor Roy Cooper recently appointed you to the Board of Trustees for the North Carolina Center for the Advancement of Teaching. What did that appointment entail?
So I was appointed by the governor. So someone from the governor's office reached out to ask if I would be interested in serving on the NCAT board. And of course, I was excited because NCAT works with increasing teacher effectiveness. And we know that teachers are the closest ones to the students, and they have the number one impact on student academic performance. Principals are only second to teachers. So our principals are the second ones that have that impact. So being able to be a part of NCAT, and they have a lot of work around literacy, and we know that that is a need in the district. It gives me a firsthand at all the professional development that NCAT will provide across the state. And I've learned that we have one of their staff members that live here in Elizabeth City that's a literacy trainer.
That is so wonderful. Not only that, but I'm just saying, and I'm just happy that the governor acknowledged your skills and appointed you to that position, because as I said earlier, and I will continue to say, that everything is about relationships, not what you know in many instances, but who you know. And I think you're going to it's going to help us in Elizabeth City just by you being on that committee and what you can bring back to the community.
Yes.
Right. Now, on July 22nd, 2019 was your first day on the job as superintendent of the Elizabeth City Pasquotank County School System. I know that the Board of Education members voted unanimously to hire you. How did that make you feel? Because sometimes there's always some opposition somewhere. Mm-hmm. But there were no opposition.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I felt really good about that. And it's important because with the work that lies ahead of us with student academic performance, school safety, knowing that I have the support of every board member is very important. It helps me know, what, we can step out there, we can do innovative things, and it's okay if everything that we do does not work exactly the way we want it to, because I know I have the support of the full board.
You know what? I'm just one of the other things I did in life too. I served on a school board.
Oh my, okay.
And that was one of the hardest jobs I ever had in my life. It wasn't many things that we could get a unanimous vote on that school board. Mm-hmm. But that's the reason I say that's why I raised that question, because I know it's hard to get a unanimous decision on the school board on many things,
Yes.
So congratulations on that too.
Thank you.
That's the second congratulations today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now let's look at you a little bit about how long have you worked in education?
I've worked in education for over 27 years, and I've worked in both higher ed education as well as K-12 education.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now, and I just, the listening audience, I know they're sitting there now, say, where is Hez Brown going with this superintendent now? But I want to know, just tell them a little about where you have bachelor's, you have master's, and you have a PhD. What school did you go to? All the same schools? Did you go to different schools? Or which one did you do what in?
Yeah, so my undergrad degree is from North Carolina A&T State University, so Aggie Pride. And my master's degree and my doctorate degree are both from North Carolina State University, so go Pack. So I have a nice variety in my background of where I received my education.
Well, now you have to get used to saying a little bit different. You have to learn a little bit about Viking pride. Viking pride.
Absolutely. And Dr. Dixon will definitely help me understand Viking pride.
All right. Okay. What do you think? And I know that was a real hard search. And I think that the Board of Education was looking for what they consider the best person that fits Elizabeth City. Tell the audience, why do you think that they selected you?
So I think there are a few reasons. I think one of the reasons is the approach that I take to the work. So the collaborative spirit, being transparent, ensuring that all voices are going to be heard. And I also have a track record of success in working with districts and schools that are having challenges. So I worked with district and school transformation with the State Department of Education, and I led the team that was in Halifax County under Judge Manning. So that team of 19 folks from the state that were there on the ground every day, I was responsible for the work that we laid out, and we saw a lot of success there. And I think also my success with district and school turnaround, but also the perspective that I bring from the university lens in working with teacher preparation and principal preparation. So understanding the importance of having a strong principal in every school, a strong teacher in every classroom, and how do we utilize our resources to support the instructional programs to ensure success for our students. So I think it was kind of a culmination of all of those pieces together, and knowing that I love connecting with the community and that I understand that we cannot do this alone as a school district, that we have to reach out to our community, we have to reach out to businesses, and it doesn't mean us bringing them to us all the time, but it means me going out into the community, walking around, talking to people, talking to the elders in the community to find out the history of Elizabeth City. So I think it's all of those pieces together that they probably felt that I was the best candidate for the position.
Wonderful. You also said a key word that I really know that is so important, and that was collaboration.
Absolutely.
Collaboration to me is a key word, and that will determine whether or not you are successful or not in almost anything you do. If you can't collaborate with other people within the community and around, then it's going to be a problem for you. So how do you see the collaboration working within Elizabeth City?
So we've already started that collaboration piece. So getting out into the community and hearing from the community what works well in the school district. What are some things that you have concerns about, or some things that you feel need to change? What are some suggestions that you have for us for those changes that you see need to occur? But then also, how do we sit around the table and have discussions about what's the next step that we take and ensure that all voices are heard? Not just bringing you around the table to say, oh, we heard you or we listened to you, but how do we really take those voices and implement so that we're having collective impact? Like I said before, we cannot do this alone.
Let's pause for a moment. We'll be right back with more Around the Town with Hez Brown.
Elizabeth City State University promises to be the most affordable choice for a high-quality university education. The North Carolina Promise tuition plan will reduce the tuition cost of attending ECSU to only $500 per semester for in-state students. Learn more online at ecsu.edu/NCPromise. Elizabeth City State University. Come to discover, leave to conquer.
You are now listening to Around the Town with Hez Brown.
That is, I want to say something to you, Dr. Edmonds. I think that is so, in our community, I often say that Elizabeth City is small enough, big enough, and bad enough to become a model city for not just North Carolina, but for the country. We have people here with all kinds of skills, people here who are willing to volunteer, people who are willing to take part, but it takes what? It takes leadership.
Yes.
Yeah. That what John Maxwell said in his book, that everything rise and fall in leadership.
Absolutely.
And I am just so happy to hear you talk about collaboration, with the community? Because there's so many folks in positions, and they think, well, because you don't have a bachelor's degree, you don't have a master's, you don't have a PhD, that you don't know anything. But boy, those people out there in the trenches, they can give us all a lesson.
Absolutely. And I learned the most from my parents, and my dad had to drop out of school in 6th grade because his father passed, and so he had to help support the family. And he has taught me a lot of what I know in work ethic, how to treat people, how to build relationships. I learned that from my dad.
Everything rise and fall in leadership / relationships.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, let me just go into something else here. Now, I know that you served as the Director of Educational Leadership and Development and Director of the North Carolina Principal Fellows Program for the state of North Carolina. Tell the listening audience what that job entailed.
Yeah. So there were several pieces to that role. So the North Carolina Principal Fellows Program is where we were developing principals to come out and lead in our schools in North Carolina. And so they were provided a scholarship, and we provided the training for them so that they will be ready to roll as soon as they graduated. The other piece of that is the leadership development piece. So working across the public universities in principal development, our Masters of School Administration programs, to ensure that those programs had what we needed them to have so that we would have successful principals. So the principal fellows were amongst several campuses, and we brought them together to do some training with them. But also I worked with the implementation of lab schools and also teacher development. So working across our teacher prep programs as well.
So am I correct in understanding that you have worked from K through 12 and beyond? Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
So you started out as a classroom teacher?
Yes, as a high school math teacher. I taught high school math for over 10 years, and I taught everything from inclusion algebra 1 all the way to AP calculus. And after that, I became an assistant principal, and not because I felt that I was a leader, but someone said to me, we want you to be in this program. We see your leadership. We see what you're doing in your classroom. We see the impact that you're having school-wide. We need you to go into our leadership program to think about being an assistant principal or principal in our district.
So my point is this, is that in your career, and, you know, I came from New York, and one of the things they say, if you want to start in the bottom. You know, if you want to work on Wall Street, you start in the press room, and then you work your way up.
Yes.
And the reason and the rationale for that is that you learn every step of the way about how to do it. So now you have prepared yourself by working from the bottom to maybe to the top where you're not finished yet. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, don't that give you a little bit more experience? And I think that the teachers, the principal will react to you differently because you've been there. You've done that. How do you think? Is that right?
Yeah, I do agree with that. And part of that is because as you're leading with teachers and leading principals and central office staff, understanding what they're going through on a day-to-day basis is important. So I don't set goals or strategies that are not realistic. Because I've been in the role, I know what it takes, I know what they deal with on a daily basis, and so that gives me a lens to look through that they are looking through as I'm leading.
Absolutely. I got another congratulations for you. You know what I mean? As we go along, and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you will never blow your horn. You will never go around and say, I was Teacher of the Year. You'll never go around and say this, you know. But in my research, I found that you were named Teacher of the Year way back in 2001. Yeah. And being named Teacher of the Year was quite an accomplishment. All right. What did you do to get that high honor?
So I think part of that was that my colleagues and peers that I work with on a daily basis saw the sense of urgency and how I was relentless in ensuring that every child in my classroom regardless of if you were Algebra 1A, Algebra 1 Inclusion, or AP Calculus, I gave you the attention that I knew that you needed to be successful. And my students were successful. And I took on a lot of leadership roles in this school. And at the time, not necessarily because I felt like I was a great leader, but I saw things that were happening to students that I did not agree with. And instead of complaining about them, I wanted to be a part of the solution. I said, we can do that better. And I think my colleagues and peers saw that in me.
You know, I think it's so important that one thing you mentioned was your peers, you know, and I have to tell you this story that I did this past year at P.W. Moore School. You know, I was there working relentlessly, helping the students and the teachers and so on. But I developed a Good Deeds Award. All right? Yeah. And the person who received a good deed, it was voted on by their peers in the classroom. And it was just marvelous. So I just say, you know what I'm saying when you say your peers acknowledge and recognize the things that you do, you know, it also worked with young people too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. Tell the listening audience, what do you like about being a school administrator? Tell them, what do you like about that, you know?
So when the idea was first brought to me about being an assistant principal or principal, my initial reaction was, oh no, I do not want to leave my students. I want to be connected with children. I want to be in my classroom. But then I became an assistant principal and I saw the impact that I could have school-wide. And then as a principal, I was like, okay, I think I'm getting the hang of this, that I can really help adults, one, support them and so that they can better support students, but also ensure that our students feel like they belong in our school. And as a superintendent, I love being out in the schools. So you'll see me a lot in schools, not a lot at central office, but to be able to help our educators support teachers and support staff so that they can better support kids. Because for me, by all counts, most people would have said when I was back on the farm, when I was a little girl, and my dad references this all the time, that I can't believe that little girl that was on the farm is now leading a school district. But it was because there were educators who saw something in me that I did not see in myself. And they believed in me until I could believe in myself. And so I love being in a leadership position so that we can offer that for all kids. And it's just not by happenstance that you just happen to get a teacher who will do that for you, but it's an expectation across our district that will happen for every child, that we will have at least one adult in every building that will be a champion for every child in the building. And I know some are going to say, oh, that's not what they're doing. This is day 2. Give us some time. We're going to make it happen.
All right. You know, let me just say this. You know, you have so many things. Congratulations as I go along this list here. And this is the one that I congratulate. This is the highest congratulation I can give you. You know, I noted that you were recognized as a listener-first leader. Mm-hmm. A listener-first leader. Yeah, explain what that means. I need to hear that.
Yeah, so there's a project. It's called the National Conversation Project. And that project is built in the spirit of collaboration, innovation, and shared ownership. And it takes folks that may not see things exactly the same way, but you are open to listening to the views of others, and that you can bridge that gap. So we're listening for understanding and not for judgment. And we actually did a protocol with our principals yesterday called Willing to be Disturbed. And that kind of speaks to the same thing as the National Conversation Project, is that when you listen, you'll find that there's not a lot of differences and that we have more in common than we realize. And our views on a certain topic may be closer than we realize if we will take the opportunity to listen first.
You know, in my teaching as a conflict resolver is that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Yes.
That means that you're supposed to listen more than you talk. Mm-hmm. And the one that talked the loudest is very seldom heard. So I like this good listen because I just think that too often that individuals who, you know, because of your position many times, you think that, well, since I'm the superintendent, I know everything. And so you have to listen to me. But the thing that you're talking about, the good listening, I think that's going to be a total asset to you and to this community.
Well, in working with the principals, I think over the last 2 Mondays, they've seen that I ask a lot of questions and I listen a lot. And I'm okay with silence. So if I ask a question and you don't respond immediately, it's okay. I am okay with wait time.
Right. Okay. All right. Now, let me just go to this. Elizabeth City School District has some unique challenges. There were some schools, some low-performing schools. How are you going to address that problem?
So a lot of what we've been talking about today is building relationships with our students, personalized learning for our students so that we know exactly what they need. So looking at the data, but also listening to them. I will do a student listening tour once school opens back up, and also supporting our teachers so that they will have the skill set, the resources that they need to better support our students. But it's all about building relationships, ensure we have the resources in the right places, and giving people the skill set that they need to get the work done.
Let me ask this question. I hear you say about good listening and listening. Will you also listen to the students?
Absolutely. And I told people that in my past district, most of the things that we implemented were based on my conversations with students. When I had my student listening tour, they will tell you what's working well in their school and what they feel needs to change. And when I have a third grader saying to me, I'm so stressed out, we need time in the day to just take a breather. Well, we implemented a club day. We asked them, well, what would you want to do? Oh, we would like a club day or something. We implemented club day. So as the students started realizing, wait a minute, they're actually listening to us and implementing these things, they had so many ideas that they would take to their teachers and to their principals that we implemented. And then they were engaged in the educational process.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. There are many folks in this community, and I have to tell you I disagree with it, but there are many people who, when they're low-performing schools, they blame it on children coming from poverty-stricken homes. What is your take on that?
Yeah. So there is research that shows that there is a correlation between schools identified as low performing and high poverty. But what I also know and I've seen is that there are schools that are getting it done for kids. And because I'm from a poor neighborhood, which I was growing up, I was poor. And now I sit here before you as the superintendent of the school district. But it's because someone took the time to ensure that I received the education that I deserved. And they did not use my poverty as an excuse or a reason for me not to be successful. And so it can be done, and we're going to make it happen.
Oh, no, I agree. But I'm just saying, because, you're the same as I. I don't think anyone realized how poor my family was, We actually was too poor to go to public schools. Yeah. And why is that? Because there was the school I went to was a Mobile County Training School, and you had to wear uniforms. My family could not afford to buy uniform for us to go to school, so I quit school.
Wow.
But I'm saying that's the reason I'm saying when I hear this about low performing, it has nothing to do with your knowledge or you as a person. Mm-hmm. We just have to find ways to get in to crack that egg and make it happen.
It has nothing to do with ability.
Right.
Our children can do it if we set high expectations, hold them accountable, and support them in getting the work done. They can do it.
Okay. Now let's turn to something else. This might be a little bit more difficult. Okay. What do you feel is going to be your most difficult task? And
I wouldn't say this is my most difficult task. But I think there are some things that we have to prioritize and make top priority. For example, we need our parents and our community to feel that our schools are safe. We know they're safe. And there are people out there right now that would say, no, they're not because of X, Y, or Z. So we have to make sure that we're implementing some of the things that you talked about early in the program in terms of those 6 nuggets: peer conflict, mediation, resolution. So being proactive versus reactive when it comes to discipline, make sure we're doing some restorative discipline practices. So we're not only holding kids accountable, but we're helping them understand how do you do things differently the next time. So I think that's one thing that's a high priority, as well as looking at our data to ensure that we're providing the academic experiences for our children that they deserve. And knowing that we have some students who may have had different experiences before they get into kindergarten or pre-K, and there may be some gaps, has nothing to do with their ability. It's more about experiences that they may or may not have had. So we need to make sure that we're getting those kids up to par.
One thing, you know that. Mm-hmm. I know that. Mm-hmm. How do we get this across to the teachers in the classroom? How do we do that?
And we started that work this past Monday, and next Monday with our leaders. That's why I always say leadership matters, principals matter. They're the ones that have to go into the schools, and what we've done with them at the administrative training, they have to now take that back into their school and have those same conversations with their staff and with their teachers.
Mm-hmm. No, and this is probably around the last question here. I've been in Elizabeth City for 16 years, and I think one of the hardest tasks it has been to get the community focus on that this is our school. This is not somebody else's school. This is not the governor's school. This is not the senator's school. But this is our community. These are our schools. These are our children. But it's been so difficult to try to get folks involved in the school system. I tried to develop a reading program here in the school district. The first time I had a meeting, I had, 48 different organizations that showed up. And they came back, and after about a month, they disappeared again. So what do you think it's going to take to get the parents, the business community, everybody involved in the school system? Because the teachers, the school district, the administrators just simply cannot do it alone.
Absolutely. And I think one thing is being very clear about the direction in which we're going, and also helping our community understand how to help us. Sometimes we ask community members to do things that's outside of their comfort level. So how do we utilize the strengths that are in the community and have those plug into the schools in a way that's sustainable? Because if you ask me to do something that I'm not really strong at, eventually I'm going to start falling back. But if it's something that I'm passionate about, something that I know that I'm good at as a community member, and it's an area that I know I can have an impact, then I'm probably going to stick with it. And I'm probably going to bring the school some new innovative ideas of ways that we can implement. So I think it's being very clear about sharing with the community how they can support us and what that would look like, so that they will know what our needs are and how we see them plugging into the work that we're doing. And then they can give us feedback as well. That would be very helpful.
And the other thing is that I think that the only thing we can rely upon, we certainly have the Daily Advances, the newspaper, but they can only cover so much, And I think you have a quarterly paper that maybe come out. But see, one of the things that happen in the community, too, is that this least little thing that happened in the school district that has to do with negativity, you know what I mean? Then everybody jump on that. Is there some way in your mind, and this might be an unfair question because you just came, but how can we get the good thing that's happening to the school district out to the naysayers, if that's possible?
Yeah, and I think there are a couple ways. So we have a community schools director, Tammy Sawyer, who works very closely with our business community, and she can definitely connect with them to help them understand things that are going on through social media. But I think at the end of the day, those who want to jump on the naysayer bandwagon, if they would look through this lens, do we have good intentions for children? And is this what's best for kids? So what you see happening, is this what's going to help our kids move forward? Sometimes we just don't like change. But I think through social media, through the newspaper, programs like the one that I'm here with you today, there are ways that we can get it out. And if we could have our community to to join in with us and partner with us to help get the good stuff out. I think that would be helpful for us.
Okay, I'm going to work with you on trying to figure out a way to do that too, because again, with the social media and so on like that, maybe it's some way we can do that. But I like to work because there are more good things going on there, bad
Absolutely.
things. But people focus on the negative things that's happening. So I want to work with you on doing that. But I can't tell you how honored I am and how much I appreciate you taking the second day of your job to come and just share with the community some of your thoughts, some of your ideas, and possibly that they will look at sometime and realize that change is not all bad.
Absolutely.
98% of change is good. It's only 2% of change is bad. But I'm just say congratulations to you, number one. Number two, congratulations for being accepted unanimously on the Board of Education. And more than that, but congratulations for getting out to the community and coming with new ideas and new perspective, but things that's going to be beneficial to our community. Let's work together in making Elizabeth City the best community in the country.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And we're going to come back again on this program or with myself or with Clay and finish this thing off, as you move along. All right?
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me today. It's such an honor to be here with you.
Thank you for listening to Around the Town with Hez Brown, recorded and produced at WRVS-FM Studios on the campus of Elizabeth City State University. If you are interested in becoming an underwriter for this show, call 252-335-3985.